The fifth round of the Winstel Cup chase for the Winstel Cup takes us to Kansas Speedway for the Banquet 400. Several drivers out, several drivers subbing in. It's going to be a wild race to find out who's going to get ahead as we count down to championship weekend in just 4 weeks. You're watching ABN's live coverage of the Winstel Cup Series live from Kansas Speedway. Joe Cortez, Carmen, Sienna joining you in the booth tonight. Emily Polsitrix pushing all the buttons behind the scenes. And Carmen, it's already been a season to remember. We've got 5 more races, and it's champion's still up for grabs.
It very much is up for grabs. Tyler Head, the person that I think a lot of people earmarked as being the favorite, out this week. That was planned. We knew that in advance. This is his drop round in the chase. Very thin margins from here on out for Tyler Head if he wants to be a championship contender. Sean Peleg won last time we were live. That was all the way back in Dover. Now we get to see who can step up here at Kansas. This is a very fun track, progressive banking. We're going to see a lot of different lanes in play across the night's race. Only 60 laps, so we got to get moving quickly once the green flag flies. Your qualifying coming up as well. Track position is still critical. The easier you can make it in qualifying, the better your race typically ends up being. And it's very tight in the point standings. You're looking through this. Christian Budd, I believe, leading the points by just a slim margin here so far. We're looking at Christina Ryan filling in for Nick Doucette. We'll cover that here shortly. Christian Budd leading by 15 points entering this race over Tyler Head. Again, Tyler Head using his drop round in the chase this week. He can't do anything else other than be perfect from here on out beginning next week. Nick Doucette, he's third in points. Suspended. We looked at the 24 that was on your screen. Christina Ryan filling in for this week after Nick Doucette got suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct last time we were on racetrack in Dover. So Nick Doucette will fall down the order as well. Dylan Roberts, he has to make up some ground, as does Jose Solis Jr. And as you look down the 10 people in the chase with the Winstel Cup, it is almost curtains closed for Emily Howe and Brendan McGee. They need to pull things together quickly. For Emily Howe, fastest right now in practice. This could be where the turnaround begins, but very short order in those 5 races if she's going to try to do that. Chris Champeau, best of the rest so far by 70 points over Jonathan Hernandez, but Hernandez looking pretty good here as well. Evan Locke there, Mike Rasmus, Brandon Cruz, Corey Cook, Alex Bates, some of the full season drivers that just missed out there earlier. Still have a lot to fight for in that 11th to 20th position range. So again, it's all to play for here after what has been a wild start to the chase for the Winstel Cup. It's going to heat up. It's going to ramp up. This is a track that is known to be very wild in these cars. You saw Corey Cook there go for a spin out of turn 2. This is going to be wall-to-wall, flag-to-flag, just an absolute melee for every single last point.
When we came to you 3 weeks ago here in the Winstel Cup Series, it was Sean Peleg who walked away with the win at Talladega Superspeedway. But Kansas Speedway is very much a different beast than the Superspeedway we were at just 3 weeks before. Yes, they're both quick speedways, but with a progressive ranking at Kansas and the mile-and-a-half oval, it's going to make for a challenge for all of these drivers. Considering you have now 2 contenders who are in the top 5, effectively making this their drop week, the margin for error is very small for those 2 drivers, whereas the other ones everyone else has a little bit of breathing room to try to walk away from this race in good standing for, to stay in the championship.
So you're going to see qualifying get underway here. Everyone's got 1 lap to set here in qualifying, and we're looking at looks like around 31 drivers here on track trying to make some things happen here. This is sort of where things really kick off. You have the first 3 races in the chase. You can use one of your drop rounds here. But this is where you need to really have it figured out if you're someone like Brendan McGee, Emily Howe, or one of the drivers sort of almost a race out at this point. You need good results in bunches, and that's hard to do when you look at how good the drivers like Christian Budd, like Tyler Head have been, like Dylan Roberts have been. There's some really stacked drivers that are always at the front of the field. It makes it very hard to do. But qualifying, if you can perfect qualifying, you give yourself a good shot. We saw that with Larry Pace. Larry Pace, phenomenal in qualifying so far, and slowly putting this together as well. So we'll see how the field does in qualifying here, because it's going to be a lot of laps quickly as we watch Evan Locke go across the line.
60 laps here at the Speedway. It means it's going to be a very quick race, and it's going to be a race where drivers don't have a lot of time to dilly-dally. They have to make their way up front. They have to find a way to win the race, or at least make their voices heard in order to stay relevant for the next 4 races. That's right, 4 races left in the chase for the Winstel Cup, starting next week at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Oval. It'll be an evening race, I believe, for that one, followed by the old Phoenix Raceway for a 500-kilometer race there. Darlington Raceway at the night race for October 6th. And finally, everything concludes at the Ford 400 at Homestead Miami Speedway, October 13th. We're really close to crowning a champion, so right now, every race counts.
It absolutely does. Emily Howe, right now, fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying at the moment. After a wild turn of events there, riding on board with Gabriel Mauricio, who is looking for a little bit more in his number 40 car, that Silver Bullet, riding around outside lane here, just hanging it on that outer rim here on Kansas Speedway. Progressive banking means that the outside lane works pretty well here, even in qualifying. Mauricio down below the white line on the apron. What is his lap time going to be for the 40? Only enough for 15th at the moment. That's not where he wants to be, but still some lap time still left on the table there, and overall not a bad place to be. It's right down in the middle. Parker Alexander, where does he go in that number 5 machine? I believe he is just now starting his run. He is, and he's tied the wall.
Hard break. Hard break for him. That will send him to the back of the field. Remember, they only have 1 lap for qualifying year. It's the fastest lap they get, and if they mess it up in any way, shape, or form, it is to the back of the field. A little over a minute and a half left. Emily Howe, Robert Solis Jr., still your top 3 in qualifying.
Yeah, and that's a really good combination there. Corey Cook, a good qualifying effort so far as well. 4th place for Cook. Just trying to see if there's anyone else on track. McKissick just tagged the wall as well, so he will not set a lap time. And I believe we have seen all of those that are going to be qualifying here. I don't see anyone else on track outside of McKissick, who tagged the wall. We have Steinhauser lined up on pit lane like he's getting ready to make a run. But whether or not he actually does attempt remains to be seen. He could jump himself up as high as 23rd here out of all of this.
It's possible. Anything is possible at this point. 50 seconds left to go as you watch a 37 now stopped on the track. Not exactly sure why Brandon McKissick is just sitting there. Might have had some issues with his run, and now he's going to get off the track. Steinhauser now on track.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be having enough time to actually make a qualifying run here, but he is running out and at least doing an install lap.
Even an install lap is better than starting in the back of the field. So it looks like he's going to just try to take any time he can get here on the track. As long as he crosses the start-finish line before qualifying ends, he should be able to get a lap in.
He should be, but he's going to miss out, I believe. Oh, yeah, he's going to miss out here.
Yeah, he's barely going to miss out. He's going to miss out by about 3 car lengths. So that is a risk you take.
Yeah, so he's going to end up starting 27th here. So there was a 4-position difference there with what Steinhauser could have aimed for there. But that is going to lead us to our full starting grid here. Emily Howe, once again on pole position, a much-needed start of this race, but she's got to maintain it across 60 laps. It's teammates on the front row, Howe and Roberts, and then Solis and Corey Cook, row 2. Evan Locke, a good qualifying effort ahead of Christian Budd, but a lot of chase drivers fed throughout the top 20 here.
Emily Howe, Dylan Roberts, Jose Solis Jr., your top 3. Corey Cook, Evan Locke, last year's Rookie of the Year in the top 5. Christian Budd, your points leader, currently will qualify 6. Alex Bass, Mike Rasmus, Kirk Marble, and Brandon Cruz at 20th. Round out your top 10.
A fantastic job for all of them. Chris Champeau, where he's at in points, where he starts this race, 11th place inside row 6, alongside the 99 of Craig Lautenslager, Ryan Hill, and Brandon McGee in row number 7. Ahead of Jonathan Hernandez and Gabriel Mauricio, who starts right in the smack dab middle of the field for this race. Philip Snipes and Mo Perry in row 9. Row 10, rounding out the top 20, is last time's race winner 3 weeks ago in Talladega, Sean Peleg, alongside the 38 Ford of Kyle Benson.
Chrissy Ryan taking over for Nick Doucette in the 24 will start position number 21. Tyler Murray on the outside of her in 22. Row 12, Brandon McKissick on the inside. Matt Taylor on the outside. These are the drivers who did not qualify for tonight's race. Parker Alexander, Ken Hups, Corey Steinhauser, Hayden Rapis, Christopher Bishop, and Rory Collins all electing not to take time. Will start in the back of the field.
Yeah, they're expecting a lot of chaos, and they may be correct for that. This track race is a little bit closer to like Chicagoland did earlier in the season, but the outside lane's even more viable than what it was at Chicagoland. It's a little bit more grippy. It's a little bit more friendly for the drivers that want to really kind of hang it out there on the outside lane. So I think the drivers starting at the back of the field are expecting some early some bedlam here in Kansas Speedway. So we'll see if they're ridered on that or not. And obviously with the short race, it means we're looking at another 2-stop race sort of event going on here as everyone tries to figure out what they've got in these cars. You better have done your homework with these 3 weeks that you had to practice if you're one of the chase drivers, because this is one of the races. This is one of the last really good layup races. It gets a lot more difficult from here.
It definitely does get a lot more difficult from here. This is the last race you can really count on to be easy, if you can call a Winstel Cup race easy. Atlanta, Phoenix, Darlington, Homestead, Miami, all coming up for these drivers. So this is an event that these drivers are going to have to put on their best performance for. 60 laps around Kansas Speedway about to begin as they come down through turns 3 and 4. Real quick, Carmen, who are you watching tonight?
Keeping an eye on Emily Howe, front of the field. She's got to close out this race the way she started it, but also keep an eye further down the order as well. Sean Peleg, he's not going to stay back there for very long. Parker Alexander, he's going to be the hardest charger of the race. He needs to be if he wants to keep his chase ambitions intact. Those are the 3 drivers I think that we need to keep an eye on for a lot of action tonight.
And me, I'm looking at Christian Budd because he's going to start towards the front, and he's got a lot of opportunity to make some points up if he wins tonight. Green flag flies, and we are racing at Kansas Speedway. And immediately the battle starts up front between the would-be DEI teammates of Howe and the 8 of Dylan Roberts. Side by side, they continue to run. And on the inside line, it is Roberts, who has the advantage, will easily get by Howe. Jose Solis Jr., though, waiting in the wings, watching as these 2 drivers switch positions going through lap number 2.
Solis deciding to take the road less traveled here. Solis up in the outside lane, the 29 car. Well, the only one in the top 5 that chose the outside lane in 3 and 4 that time. Everyone just trying to figure out where the clean air is. What's going to protect the tires also, because the tire, we talk about the amount of grip that this track provides compared to tracks like Chicagoland. It's still very important to keep those tires fresher for longer. The fall off here is dramatic at Kansas Speedway. Almost about a 1.5 seconds worth once you get completely through these tires. So let's just trying to figure that out now, while also trying to continue to move forward. Really good run there. Use the middle line that time. Didn't go all the way up to the wall, and you're seeing that momentum generate as he gets to the right rear quarter panel there of Emily Howe. Just trying to pick and roll up the way to the front of the field here. Already had a really good starting spot, but trying to just make it a little bit better here early on.
No changes up front except for Emily Howe, who after a great qualifying is starting to fall back through the field. She's moving now between 2nd and 3rd, fighting with Solis Jr. on the outside. And here comes Evan Locke, a man who's had an up and down season, trying to make some noise towards the end of this season. Up front, no changes. It will continue to be Dylan Roberts in the 8 running forward. Corey Cook and Brandon Cruz now running side by side in the 2nd group.
Importantly, Sean Peleg already out of this race. The 48 car has retired already. He'll be classified 30th. He started this race, had some sort of mechanical issue, and is out already just a few laps in. We're on lap 5, and one of the chase contenders already out after winning last time out of Talladega.
Meanwhile, Emily Howe's struggles are just beginning, as now she's dropped 2 positions and could potentially drop 3 if Christian Budd has anything to say about it, running that high side, trying to figure out exactly how much his car's capped and where to get the best momentum on the field. He's got the corner panel of the 15 this time by, and now it's a drag race between Howe and Budd for position number 3.
Yeah, Budd going right to the outside lane. You see the space between the two, prevents the side drafting. The close up together here on the front straightaway. Christian Budd using the momentum on the outside lane. Progressive banking makes that outside lane so much more viable because not only are you carrying more speed on the outside lane, you're not losing as much time. You have more momentum on the outside lane. Typically, it's the inside or the outside. Both are viable. We're seeing that with Dylan Roberts. He is really making that inside lane work. But if you're not the race leader, the outside lane's looking pretty good as well. As you see Christian Budd immediately move back to the inside lane. Now he's gotten clear of Howe.
But tires will be a concern. The harder you run that outside lane, the faster you're going to burn down these tires, which is going to make this a 2-stop affair. They're going to have to change tires at least twice if they want to stay competitive on this field. They don't have a choice. As like you said, Carmen, the tire burn we're in a hurry on this track. In that second group, Corey Cook now starting to give way to Cruz and company. We're watching the battle between the 18 and the 40. Mauricio trying to start making his moves up front, knowing that we don't have a whole lot of time, but he's having a battle there as he's stuck in traffic.
Yeah, Mauricio trying to make his way forward here. He got from 16th to 10th place there, and also another mover there, Kirk Marble, who's done a really good job just sort of blending in amongst this upper mid-pack group in that 16 car. Right there sitting ahead of Craig Lautenschlager, who's dropped back a couple spots. Jonathan Hernandez, the one, he's trying to move forward as well. Kyle Benson's moved up several spots already after being in 20th on the start. He's moved up to 15th, up 5 positions. Brendan McGee, he's in 16th. He needs to move up a little bit more to make some things happen, but this is a very feisty mid-pack, and you see the tail of it as everyone just sort of tries to figure things out from here, just really trying to put yourself in the best spot to have a good green flag pit stop, because it looks like the melee that we were expecting has calmed down a little bit for the most part. Everyone able to choose the lane they want to be in at this point, and now the moves begin to be made as far as just, do you have a long run car, or are you running 5 laps and then saving the rest of it?
Alex Bates still in position number 7, trying to fight off some traffic now from the 6 of Mike Rasmus, and the 20 in front of him, that's Brandon Cruz. Mauricio now trying to figure out where he can run in traffic that's going to get him the fastest way around this track, as that second pack starting to lose pace from the top 5. The top 5 taking a big run on this field, and there's at least a 2-second gap, maybe even 3-second gap between the first group and the second.
Yeah, right now it's almost 2 seconds, a second and a half between Evan Locke and Brandon Cruz is what we're looking at right now. Cruz got clear of the traffic, so he should be able to try closing back in on Evan Locke. Evan Locke seems to be struggling a little bit, but just keeping touch with the race leaders at the moment, whereas Cruz looks to be a lot more in control of that 20 car. But here comes Rasmus once again on him, just to kind of keep adding the parachute to the back of the 20 car, who gets really loose in the outside lane, still loose on the exit. And that's going to help Mike Rasmus get clear for the 6th spot. But Brandon Cruz, from the middle of turn 2 all the way to the exit, was sideways. That wheel was not pointing in the right direction, but he was able to hold on to it there.
Might be tires already burnt down for the 20 machine as he tries to keep it straight even through turns 3 and 4. Something going wrong with the 20. He's not happy with how that car is handling. I can guarantee you that, as he drops 3 positions to those gentlemen in front of him.
Yeah, Brandon Cruz, obviously he dropped back a little bit there. Corey Cook lost even more spots there. This 00 car got really loose out of 4, had to get down on the apron just to save it. And now back behind Kyle Benson in the 15th spot. As another car moving forward here is the 99 of Craig Lautenschlager. And keep an eye on the 37 of Brandon McKissick. We haven't seen him much this season, but that 37 car is on a roll right now, on his way up through the field. Started this race on the back row, and now sitting in 16th spot. He's already gained 7 spots in this race, almost making it 8 here. He's gained more spots right now than Parker Alexander. So really good move so far for the 37, and the 5's right there behind him too. So both of them moving forward as we thought they would. And Corey Cook still loose. Outside lane loose for the 0. The inside lane even looser. That 0 car of Corey Cook just really struggling at the moment. And you see as Cruz gets ahead of the 16 of Kirk Marble, they're going to try to chase down the other 3 cars here and hopefully get back to the leaders, because Evan Locke has lost touch completely with the top 5.
It is the haves and the have-nots so far at Kansas, and so far the top 4 now, trying to do everything they can to continue their lead on this field. We're watching the second pack in action as 18 of Champeau tries to fight through the field. Right now it is the 6 of Mike Rasmus and the 40 of Gabriel Mauricio leading that group, doing a little tandem drafting, hoping they can catch up to the front pack in front of him, but it's more that Evan Locke has lost that draft and it's going back to them.
Evan Locke now 2 seconds away from Dylan Roberts at the front of the field. Roberts still leads over Christian Butt. Emily Howell has stopped the bleeding and is stayed ahead of Jose Solis Jr. Evan Locke still in the top 5, but it seems like that gap between Rasmus and Locke is continuously getting smaller and smaller. And then look at Alex Bates right now in the top 10 as well. Sitting at 8th after starting 7th. A really good result right now for the 25 team. A much needed result for Alex Bates. That's what has been a very rough start of the chase for the non-chase driver. Riding on board here with Christian Butt as we look back at Emily Howell and Jose Solis Jr. And you saw everyone getting a little bit antsy on that outside lane. Jose Solis Jr. started on the outside lane. Now is sat once again right back in his favorite lane, the middle lane. Just trying to make some inroads here, but also get some clean air to that car. Clean air saves those tires a little bit more. You don't have to drive through the corner as much when you have clean air. If you're in the draft on the straightaway, it helps out, but it really equalizes as a negative on the corners here. And that's what Solis is fighting right now. As you see, both McKissick and Alexander, they've caught up to Lautenschlager in the 99. And McKissick on the outside lane has got the momentum in his favor. Trouble for the car behind. That is the 9 of Brendan McGee, who almost lost it and went down the inside lane and made a trip to the inside safer barrier. Instead, he saves it and loses just a little bit of time as it gets really tight out of 4.
The tires wearing off, the drivers now having to fight their cars harder and harder to turn, especially in that dirty air. Yes, you're in the draft is the good news, but the bad news is that draft creates a whole lot of problems and a whole lot of wake that you have to drive through.
Parker Alexander threaded the needle 3 wide there to get ahead of Lautenschlager as Kyle Benson got loose on the outside lane. Parker Alexander had to really make sure his hands were stable. And in these cars, that is no easy feat, but he made it happen. He's out around him. His teammates make contact. Caution is out. Benson and Lautenschlager.
Benson and Lautenschlager make contact to bring out the caution flag for the first time tonight, and this is the melee, the maelstrom that you guys were worried about tonight. Carmen, this is but that being said, Carmen, this is exactly what some of the drivers up front wanted to see for this race, because now they can come in, get their tires done, get their fuel done without worrying about a whole lot about track position.
I don't think it helps Dylan Roberts or Christian Butt or Emily Howell, because they were sitting really pretty in that top 3. Jose Solis Jr. as well, sitting pretty as well. Everyone behind that, though, they're happy about this to a huge degree. Looking at this replay here of Roberts and Lautenschlager, Dylan Roberts got really loose the lap before, even looser here out of 4, tags Lautenschlager, and around he goes, middle of the exit of turn 4, right in front of Brendan McGee, not Philip Snipes. Brendan McGee got really close to that, but got away with it on board with Lautenschlager, the 99. And in slow motion, you're going to see the 38, his teammate there, that pedigree car, just step out loose. And these cars very sensitive. When the tires begin to go away, there's not a lot you can do to save it. Lautenschlager drifts up the track. That's the natural flow of the track. You usually just go up the racetrack there. But Kyle Benson was coming down the racetrack at a very awkward degree, and both of the Roush racing cars involved paying a small price for the first caution of the race. Their price to pay is salvation for the drivers, the likes of Evan Locke, Mike Rasmus, and Gabriel Mauricio, who are really losing touch with the race leaders as you see the battle on pit lane begin in earnest. Emily Howell first pit box, but enters that pit box later than her teammate Dylan Roberts. And Corey Cook, you saw how far the 0 car dropped outside the top 10 by a safe margin here as we see the drivers exiting pit lane momentarily. Here comes Roberts. Here comes Christian Budd. Emily House stays third. Mauricio, importantly, did not get ahead of Jose Solis Jr. there. Stays top 5 ahead of Evan Locke, who did decide that taking 4 tires was the best place. Some drivers, a lot of drivers, I think, took 2.
A lot of drivers took 2, betting on even more craziness coming on the track later. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do have some late takers for tires, or some late takers trying to see if they can get away with 2 tires, thinking there'll be a pit stop later on in the race. Looks like 2 drivers did not come down, and that includes the 20 of Brandon Cruz and I believe the 98 of Larry Pace.
Yeah, 89 of Hayden Repas stayed out on track here. Not sure entirely what happened with the 89 staying out. The 20 came in early and got pinned a lap down. So he's going to get the wave around here. He's going to be slightly off cycle, but he did come in early and win a lap down as a result. So he'll get the wave around here. The 89 will take over the lead of the race. And Cruz just now giving the wave around here, the pass by the pace car here. It will be the 89 in control unless he makes a last-second pit stop here. And he's going to have the oldest tires on the grid.
So the 89 just going to ride up front. Hayden Repas getting his 5 bonus points for leading a lap out here tonight. But I've got a feeling he's going to yield very, very quickly to the drivers who do have tires. The 8, the 17, the 15, and a whole lot of other drivers who are itching to get up front. We're more than a third of the way through this race, almost halfway through this race, as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. The 8's been strongest so far, but we'll see if Dylan Roberts can continue that run.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it from the outside lane here, the 89. If he doesn't come down pit lane, he'll take that inside lane away from Dylan Roberts, and that's the lane that Dylan Roberts really loves using, especially early on a run here. Christian Budd, Emily Howell, row 2. Jose Solis Jr. looked like he was thinking about coming back down. Here comes the 89 down pit lane. The 89 will come down, and that will give the lead back to Dylan Roberts. So smart move there to avoid any calamities. It puts equal running cars here, the 17 and the 8 at the front of the field for this single file restart.
They'll go back to green flag racing next time around. Dylan Roberts, Christian Budd, Emily Howe, your top 3. Jose Solis Jr., Gabriel Mauricio moves his way up into the top 5. Evan Locke drops out to 6. Mike Rasmus in 7th. Jonathan Hernandez 8th. The 16 of Marble in 9th, and the 18 of Chris Champeau rounding out your top 10. Still anybody's race. Still plenty of racing left to go. We're not even halfway through, but the pressure's got to be mounting on some of these drivers, knowing that time is running out, and they may need one more pit stop to get the job done.
It's going to be very interesting here, seeing where some drivers are. This really helps out Brandon McKissick and Parker Alexander. They get a good reset for starting at the back of the field. That 5 car really needed a reset like this just to kind of get back into the groove and back in position here. That's exactly what he's got, and he's going to be on a charge once again. Keep an eye on that 5 car, 13th right now on the racetrack, right behind McKissick and ahead of Corey Cook. There's not a lot holding that 5 car back at the moment. Let's see how quickly he can continue to move towards the top 10, and if he can get to the top 5.
All big ifs that are about to be answered here as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. The field in control of the 8 machine. Green flag back in the air, and we are racing again at Kansas with the 8 leading down a conga line of cars into turn number 1. New leader up front, it is going to be the 17 of Christian Budd. Gets around the 8, gets around the 15, and now your regular series champion trying to flex his muscles as he wants to be the Winstel Cup champion at the end of the season. But don't look now, a contingency starting to run up high, including Jose Solis Jr., Gabriel Mauricio and company. There goes Parker Alexander all the way down on the apron. Yes, the apron is legal to use here, 3 wide towards the back of the field.
Really good running right now, but a lot of frantic driving. Everyone knows what they have or what they don't have at this point. And Jose Solis Jr. dropping back big time. McKissick, middle 3 wide. That is Kirk Marble in the 16 in the outside lane. Losing a spot out. McKissick not holding back at all right now. The 37 car moving forward. Parker Alexander not moving forward the way I expected him to. He's really kind of just stuck here behind this group. Chris Champeau, Alex Bates, still all in front of him as well. Jonathan Hernandez also in that one car is trying to hold on right now as everything sorts out. This is where things are at their most chaotic point, when everyone's got fresh tires and feel invincible. That's where most of the work gets done if you're someone like McKissick or Alexander, but they've got to wait right now. McKissick making quicker work of it at the moment, alongside Hernandez with the advantage into one. Almost in touch line of the top five. Really pinches that one down to the white line. But they all make it through, and Champeau's on the charge as well. The 18, the Interstate Batteries machine, a really good run out of turn 2, and it's going to carry him all the way through 3 and 4 as well. He stays in the outside lane. McKissick went to the bottom. Champeau will do the same thing McKissick did to Hernandez a lap ago and get right there to him and try to sail it into turn 1 and 2.
Meanwhile, up front, the battle for the lead keeps going back and forth. Roberts is up high, Bud down low. 2 laps ago, they were in those inverse of those positions, and they continue to battle back and forth side by side. The 8 wants to get back up front. The 17 says, catch me if you can, as now the 17 doing a little rear view mirror driving, trying to keep the 8 behind him. Gabriel Mauricio now in the 40, making a big charge, trying to get into 3rd place ahead of Emily Howe.
Yeah, battles throughout the field right now. Obviously, fresh tires, they embolden the already brazen, and that's what you're seeing right now. We know how good Mauricio can be, and now we're seeing it in full force. From the outside lane to the inside lane, Christian Bud's got to focus on the silver bullet and the red Bud machine if he wants to hold on to this race lead. They are full send right now, and they know there's one more pit stop in this race. They made their first pit stop under caution. They know there's one more. They're just racing to that point at this time and just trying to get all the track position they can into turn 1. Full, really good speed shot right there as everyone just sends it into turn 1. Maximum velocity at this point.
Cross flags that time by at the start finish line. We are officially halfway done as the battle up front continues to heat up, continues to get contentious. You have 2 lines trying to form right here, maybe even a 3rd one as Mike Rasmus decides he's going to go all the way up to the top. The 8 decides he's going to go all the way down low, trying to get any momentum he can on the 17 of Bud, but right now Bud is too strong out there. He's continuing to hold off both the 8 and the 29 up high.
It is a wild time right now for Christian Bud. He is really working the steering wheel here as we take a look at the live points after the halfway point here, and this is all subject to change. Christian Bud stays first ahead of Tyler Head by 30 points. You see the adjustment there. Tyler Head using that drop round, it adjusts where he would sit. Typically he would be losing 185 points with a drop round. He only loses a few. He loses 15. And Dylan Roberts stays 3rd right now. He really needs to get ahead of that 17 car to make some inroads at the moment. Still just kind of struggling right now as Jose Solis Jr. from 5th to 1st at a very critical point. Nick Doucette stays 6th but loses a decent amount of ground. Emily Howe, though, still losing ground from 131, losing 20 points at the moment. She needs to get ahead of all these drivers right now, and she just hasn't had that race pace to show it for it right now. Alexander, currently 11th at the moment, also needs to make up more ground. He needs to be in the top 10. He needs to be flirting with his top 5 right now, and he's not. And he needs a little bit of help to get there. Sean Peleg out of this race early. You see the damage it does to him. And Brendan McGee now over a full race out of the points here. And it's hard to say that McGee can really get back if he continues to sit where he's at right now. 14th, and he really needs to be in this group right now. He is one of the lowest struggling drivers at the moment. I believe outside of Peleg, the lowest running chase driver at the moment. You saw Christina Ryan's name was highlighted. She's in Nick Doucette's car, but not an actual chase driver. Brendan McGee is the lowest running chase driver at the moment.
Sean Peleg check that, as Jose Solis Jr. uses the high side to his advantage, and he will leapfrog not 1 but 2 cars and is starting to pull away from Christian Bud, from the 8, from the 40. Emily Howe still in the mix, but every one of them is chasing that black and silver number 29 machine of Jose Solis Jr., who's got a good pace on the rest of the field. Pit stops going to be coming here in the next 4 to 6 laps. That could change everything.
right now. A fantastic battle. You see McKissick at 37 car. He's up to the top 8, right to the tail of Evan Locke in that 42 machine. Parker Alexander, he's also made his way to the top 10. Almost trouble. That is 4. That is Brendan McGee. There's Philip Snipes, the 19 car. His teammate, Brendan McGee, almost into the grass. And Brendan McGee just struggling big time here behind Chris Champeau. Once again, under attack by Alex Bates, as he was just trying to make some inroads to try to get closer to the top 10. All that went for nothing here, and he's still stuck behind Champeau in 14th after he had just gotten around him.
Tough break for the 9 as he continues to struggle throughout this field. Time ticking away, almost 2/3 of the way done here at Kansas. And right now, everyone is chasing the 29. Right now, the battle starting to heat up between the 40 and the 15. Mauricio gets around Emily Howe, and Emily Howe needs to find a way to start driving forward. She needs to start finding a way to stop the bleeding and keep position in the top 5 if she wants to keep her championship hopes alive. Mike Rasmus now trying to pull around the 15 to get to give himself one more position. Burley 6 wants to get in the top 5 if he can dispatch Howe.
Yeah, Rasmus right now working on getting into the top 5, running on board with him. On board this 6 car, the onboard for Rasmus. Couldn't make any inroads there because the outside lane is that good right now. But Emily Howe also stuck behind Gabriel Mauricio, and that's what's giving Rasmus a chance to begin with, is that Emily Howe just can't really go anywhere as the entire field slips and slides at a turn 3. These tires are definitely being expended, I think, a little bit harder than they were in the first stint.
They're definitely being extended a little harder from that first round because they know what's on the line. They know they can't hold back anymore as the 40 gets a wiggle into turn number 2, opens the door for Emily Howe, and Emily Howe, knowing what's on the line, gets a big run. We'll jump into position number 4 ahead of the 40. Now here comes Mike Rasmus and Evan Locke. They're going to try to work down low, see if they can dispatch both those cars up high. The 6 gets a great run, the 42 gets a great run, but not enough to get them around those cars.
McKissick using every inch of the racetrack right now, just trying to make some inroads here and get into the top 5. He's looking at it right now with Mauricio in 5th. Chase drivers right now 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But that's where you start seeing all of the mix-ups begin to take place. Some cars have been tagging the wall. Alex Bates tagged the wall out of 2. And he's going to lose a lot of spots big time here for the 25 car after doing so well early in this race. It's falling apart for him late. Less than 20 laps to go. I believe we're coming to 19 to go. We are at 19 to go now. And Mike Rasmus, once again, now in the outside lane, just trying to defend from Brandon McKissick and Parker Alexander, both of them on the hardest charges of anyone today. And McKissick clears himself off of Rasmus, forced Rasmus into a game of chicken down the back straightaway, and gets the outside lane. Now it's Alexander's turn to go side by side with 37.
I was about to say, look who's in that mix as well. Parker Alexander, the 5 machine, has found his way back from the back of the field all the way up front as we have some guys coming down pit road. It's going to be the 29, the 8. Looks like Emily Howe's going to come down pit road. Looks like the 9's going to come down pit road. The 18 coming down as well. Your leaders now coming to the attention of their crews. Christian Budd in the lead.
Really good run, and look at that. Look at the clear space right now that Christian Budd has, just sort of, and that breathes a sigh of relief because you know that you have space to come down pit lane safely, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. But he's got to get really low down, and that's exactly what he does. Nails it perfectly, as does a lot of the drivers coming down pit lane now. Rank and file for most of the top 10 as they all bail into pit lane. Brandon McKissick, he stays out, as does Parker Alexander. This overcut not expected to be super strong here at Kansas, but they're staying out because they've got nothing really to lose at this point, and a caution comes out from someone spinning, and they're in the catbird seat.
McKissick running just for pride out here. He's going to continue to lead. Parker Alexander has a lot to consider. He's going to come down the apron, and he will come down pit road this time by. Won't get the 5 points for leading a lap, but sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. McKissick, nothing to lose, nothing to gain. Might as well try and see if he can extend it and ultimately pick up a much-needed win as a moral victory, if nothing else.
Yeah, right now, he has stayed out. Believe the 5 Alexander did come down pit lane here and you're seeing the pace difference as Dylan Roberts approaches. I believe that was a 37 of McKissick. It is. Roberts not far behind here, but a lap down. A lot of the drivers that came down pit lane did go a lap down. As McKissick stays out on the racetrack here, we have 9 cars, make that 8 cars on the lead lap right now. They're trying to make it as long as possible, hope for the best. But here they all come out of turn 2.
About to say, a couple drivers already down 2 laps, including Jose Solis Jr., who was leading this race at one point. We'll have to update the ticker, see if that is in fact correct. As the 37 now debates going down pit road. He is going to go down pit road. Brandon McKissick wiggles it hard, and he might have gotten on too fast. Either way, he is now out of the lead, and we've got now more cars coming back on the lead lap, getting around him. The first driver down is down 1 is a 17 of Bud.
Yeah, and obviously you see Matt Taylor there, the race leader, just sort of gathering some points here, helping his bid to stay top 35 in points. Evan Locke gets around there. Here comes Emily Howe, who did not have the perfect pit stop that she was needing. Fell a couple positions down the order. Matt Taylor still staying out here. I think at this point he's just kind of staying out, letting some more of these leaders go by because he is in really dangerous territory. There's Rasmus once again on his way closer and around to get his lap back, and Taylor's not going to fight him. I think he's got to come in probably a lap from now just to really just sort of seal a deal here. But that does mean that Dylan Roberts should inherit the race lead once more over Mauricio and Christian Budd, who now have work to do to catch up to that 8 car.
That 8 car came down at the most opportune time and has been the beneficiary of these pit stops. The 32 gets out of the way, and that will open up the race for quite a few drivers out here as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. I believe the 19 in that Hemi paint scheme is currently one of the leaders, one of the few cars that have not taken a pit stop just yet, but with only 12 to go at this point, he's got to come down. He's got to come down quick. Otherwise, he may run out of gas on the field.
Yeah, I think he was also, I think he came down and topped off with fuel at one point as well, and he is going to come down pit lane now. A couple of these drivers topped off with fuel at the end of that caution on lap 23. So they had a little bit more. Mo Perry did not make pit speed there. He's got to make sure he didn't get a penalty there for speeding on pit entry. Very easy to do in these cars, coming down from 160 miles an hour down to 45. It will give Dylan Roberts the race lead, and you see the battle for second heating up between the silver bullet of Gabriel Mauricio and Christian Budd.
11 left to go at this point as Bud makes a big run down to below, trying to get below the 40. The silver bullet of Mauricio dispatches him easily, and now it's potentially a 3-car race for the finish, for the win here at Kansas. If those two can hook up and start making a run at the 8, they could easily try to win this race before we get to the checkered flag. 10 to go at this juncture, and it will be the 8, the 17, the 40, your top 3.
Really good battles right now. This is another battle here between Rasmus and Evan Locke. This is for the top 5. Rasmus trying to get in, Evan Locke trying to hold on to it as they sail through turns 1 and 2. And they are really letting it slide out because these tires, they don't have to go the extra 20 some odd laps. They just got to get to the finish here. So use them like you stole them. That's exactly what they're doing right now, battling for this top 5 spot. Christian Budd, meanwhile, still closing in big time from 8/10 to 5/10 for Christian Budd. He is in pursuit of a race win here at Kansas, trying to extend his championship lead.
And it would be a big win if he's able to close the deal. Currently, your points leader in the chase has not won a race in the chase just yet, and this could give him a major hand above Tyler Head, who already has 2 wins in this chase. This could be the make or break moment for Bud's championship hopes as he continues to run down the 8 of Roberts. Roberts, your leader, Bud only 3/10 behind, and that could close even further on this lap.
Loud traffic gonna be a factor right now. Dylan Roberts hitting that dirty air from the cars up ahead. This is gonna give Christian Budd a really good opportunity. Here comes Emily Howe for 3rd as well. She knows Christian Budd's moving forward. She needs to move forward too. And she gets around Mauricio, who has fallen backwards after using up a lot of his tires early. He's got to find a way to cool him down and get back into third if he wants to hold on here. Roberts using all the racetrack, and Christian Budd just letting him pressure himself out of this. Gets to the bottom of the racetrack. He's taking care of his front tires, and that's exactly what he needs to do. They're almost going to be side by side on the back straightaway.
The 17 trying to force the 8 into an error, but the 8 so far not giving in to the pressure. Christian Budd all over the track, all over the back bumper, trying to get back to the back bumper of Dylan Roberts. Dylan Roberts, though, using all the available racetrack, all the available real estate out there to hold off Christian Budd. Less than 0.2 of a second between them. About a car length, more plus or minus between the 8 and the 17. Whoever wins this battle is going to come out of this race with a full head of steam going into Atlanta.
Yeah, really big moment here. Christian Budd on the inside lane. It's hard to say he's not on the preferred line at this point. Dylan Roberts driving where he knows he's comfortable in that Budweiser number 8. Side drafts off that quarter panel. He's going to keep it side by side, but look at the hands. Look at how much they're jostling just down the front straightaway. Dylan Roberts wheels at work in that 8 car. Christian Budd just driving through the bottom of the racetrack and gets to the lead of the race and gets clear. Dylan Roberts has to respond now, but he's only got 5 laps to do it.
5 laps to go. Tires are burnt down. Patience is wearing thin. The 8 will now make the crossover, going down low through turns 3 and 4. The 17 has momentum on the high side.
Sideways loose for Dylan Roberts. He almost lost it twice.
Almost lost it a third time, coming off of turn number 4 and yielding to the 17. Those drivers are racing as hard as they can, knowing what's on the line, but the 8 just may not have the car to do it. 4 to go, and now the 17 gets sideways.
Very far sideways for Christian Budd, who has got right now the cleanest real estate on the racetrack. Dylan Roberts to the inside lane, trying to do what Christian Budd did to him a couple laps ago. They're coming to 3 to go. Time is running out. If Dylan Roberts has any response, it needs to be now.
Dylan Roberts needs to make a move, and he needs to make a move quickly. The problem is his tires may not have enough underneath them, and here comes Emily Howe, the 15 machine, trying to keep her dreams alive of being your next Winstel Cup champion. She looks like she's got some tires saved up in the bank, and she's starting to catch up to the 8 and the 17, or the 17, that's correct. So Bud continues to lead, got a half a second now over Roberts. Emily Howe starting to close that gap, but it may be too little too late with 3 to go, 2 to go at the start-finish line.
She is closing in rapidly with 2 laps to go. It will not be enough to get the Christian Budd, but I think Dylan Roberts' attention has been drawn from the leader to holding on to second place with less than 3 miles in hand. Emily Howe closing in less than a second away from the race leader, less than 3/10 now from her teammate in this battle on the podium as they stand coming to the white flag.
White flag about to fly. 1 to go here in Kansas. Christian Budd, the winner-elect, but if he can hold on, he will win this race. The 8 now trying to hold on to second place. Emily Howe doing everything she can to try to move up 1 position, but it's not going to be enough. Down the backstretch one last time. The 17 of Budd continues to grow his lead over Dylan Roberts. Roberts nowhere to go. Emily Howe all over the back bumper of the 8. Can she pick up 1 last spot? Not gonna happen as they come to the front for the last time. Christian Budd, your winner in Kansas.
Really good run by Christian Budd, a race winner once again in the Winstel Cup Series in 2024, and a phenomenal battle by the DEI teammates. An absolutely fantastic drive, start to finish here. What a drive for Christian Budd. Race winner in Kansas. And the DEI teammates will round up, get beside him there. Now squeeze him down the back straightaway there before coming down pit lane. Christian Budd gets to burn it all down. The race winner tonight.
Christian Budd, your winner here, as he gets a little bit of love from his teammates. Not sure what Evan Locke's still doing on the track, but nonetheless, Christian Budd burning it down, his first win in the chase for the Winstel Cup, and that's only going to do one thing for him: increase his points lead as we only have 4 races left in the championship chase. So Christian Budd looking real good now, looking very strong going into the final 4 races of the 2024 season.
I want a burnout there for Christian Budd as well. Well-earned burnout for the 17 team. A win here in the chase. Here in Kansas with 4 races to go. And there are 4 races that I think for Christian Budd should be very good for him here. It was Atlanta up next, another tire-predominant racetrack. It's a track that eats tires up for breakfast. He's going to have a really good time there as well. So should Tyler Head, who comes back next week for a race at Atlanta. This is going to be really good all the way start to finish here. But what a race. We had a caution early about lap 23, and the rest of it was just an absolute brawl the entire race. It was absolutely outstanding. The full results on your screen. But what a drive by everybody here just to make this a really fun race top to bottom.
Christian Budd, Dylan Roberts, Emily Howe, your top 3. Brandon McKissick comes from the back of the field to finish 4th. Mike Rasmus rounds out your top 5. Parker Alexander picks up a big sixth place finish after starting in the back of the field. Gabriel Mauricio in 7th, Evan Locke 8th, Kirk Marble 9th, and Ryan Hill rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, really good job there for both Marble and Ryan Hill. Really good top 10 results for them here. What a race. Absolutely fantastic. We'll hear from our podium finishers here because they're going to have a lot to dissect in this race. Joe, we'll hand it to you.
Let's go ahead and talk to your winner now, Christian Budd. Christian, your first win of the chase could not come at a more crucial time. Break down where your mindset is after winning here in Kansas.
Oh man, just super happy to win that race. It's always fun when you get to race with Dylan and Emily and Jose up there. So glad I was able to bring it home in first tonight. Felt like this was really the one I had marked off as a really good chance to win, and we were able to do it. So it feels good.
Let's talk about your battles here. You battled with a lot of different drivers on screen. We're watching you battle with Gabriel Mauricio. We saw you fighting with Dylan Roberts. We saw you fighting with Sean Peleg. How much dogfighting was going on that we weren't even privy to, and how much did tires play into that?
To be honest, I probably got the least amount of practice I've gotten for a race, and I don't know, the whole year. So it was kind of an unknown for me, and Emily put down a huge flyer on the qualifying. I mean, she was like a 10th up on everybody. So I didn't really know what to think about that, but started 6th and was able to kind of battle up there. And I felt like, the tires were dropping off a bit, but I felt like I could drive it. So, I just kept pushing hard. We got that caution, and that changed things a little bit because I felt after that like you were able to push a little bit harder. We didn't need to save quite as much. And so I was battling for the lead quite a bit. I think Jose sped, and Dylan took 2, and that was going to set up a huge battle at the end with me on 4.
So now you've won a race. You've taken one away with Tyler Head and Nick Doucette and Sean Peleg, adding your name to that list. This will increase your points lead going into the final 4 races of the season: Atlanta, Phoenix, Darlington, and Homestead, Miami. Which races are you most apprehensive about coming down to the wire?
Honestly, I like all of these tracks. Atlanta's always really fun. I've always run well there. I haven't always finished well there, so I guess if you wanted to say a concern, I need to not get caught up in somebody's mess. But Phoenix, I like. It's just one of the fun tracks. Darlington, Darlington's a different track. It's really tough. And so, I had a chance to win there last year with the 2-tire strategy. It didn't quite work out, but I feel okay about that. And Homestead, I feel okay about Homestead. So honestly, I don't think there's a weakness in the tracks. I think it's just not being a weakness in the driver and making sure that, I don't make mistakes, don't get wrecked, don't speed on pit road, don't do the things that'll take you out.
Christian, who makes it work for you in the 17 team?
I just want to say thanks to everybody here at Winstel, all the drivers, everybody who shows up every week. This stuff is so much fun, and this doesn't happen if everybody doesn't show up and race hard. Thanks to everybody who's watching at home, who's picking up these races, watching these races. We appreciate you tuning in and seeing everything that we've built here. And then, of course, you and Carmen and doing these broadcasts. Always fun. It's just great to see, everything come together.
Christian Budge, your winner here at Kansas Speedway. Dylan Roberts taking second position. And Dylan, it's got to be a little bit of a heartbreak considering how strong you and the A-team were running all night. What's going through your head right now?
Honestly, just happy with that run. It's been a rough last couple races there. The beginning of the chase for me has not gone as I'd hoped. A little bit of a tough couple ones prior to this, so getting a second, that's huge. Leading a lot of laps, that's going to help as well. Obviously you want to win, but to lose to somebody like Christian, Jose, had he not sped, realistically would have been ahead of me as well. They just had a little bit more pace than I did over the long run there. And that kind of is why I took the two tire stop there. It just felt like I couldn't beat him outright, so I needed to get him on the strategy. And it led to a fun battle. Almost had him maybe a couple laps shorter. That works, but no, that was good fun. That was a really, really good race.
Tires were the name of the game, as we saw you get sideways several times trying to manage the tires on this track. How much did they play a part in your race tonight?
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, the whole race is thinking about the tires. That first stint there that I actually pulled a bit of a gap before the caution, I had a bit of a luxury where the way that the run had kind of shook out and the way that we ended up, I was going to be able to save tires for a little bit. So I was just running the bottom, keeping them under me. You get to the second phase of the run where you start thinking, okay, we're past the halfway of this fuel run. We got to start thinking about pit stop. So at that point, you kind of shift a little bit to, all right, let's use what we've saved. Let's get a little bit of pace out of it, and then start running the top where it's a little bit harder on the tires. And it's just a constant struggle. Like later in the race, I just didn't do as good of a job as Christian did. Jose up until the pit stop there. Emily, I mean, she had me given 2 more laps. It was just. It was the whole race. If you killed your tires, there was nothing you could do. But at the same time, you had to push to not just get run over.
4 races left in the season: Atlanta, Phoenix, Darlington, and Homestead. Anything you're worried about, and more importantly, what's it going to take to get the 8 in a victory lane and hoist the trophy for the Winstel Championship?
I'm pretty happy with those 4 tracks, honestly. They're all places I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with and pretty confident in what I can do with our setups here. We tend to run these loose, hard-to-drive cars, and I think that kind of feeds into me in those situations. The really low grip surfaces, Atlanta, Darlington. It's even Homestead and Phoenix. It's going to be a great few weeks here. I just have to hopefully turn this momentum into a few more good finishes and kind of rally back from where we were.
Dylan, what's it going to take for you guys to win the championship?
Well, Tyler not showing up helped. Not getting outrun by that 17 car, that's another one. It's just going to be hopefully getting a couple wins here and beating those guys. I mean, Gabe's there with a chance. We got Nick back next week. I don't know what the point gap is. I don't know if that's out of the question for them, but it's going to be tough. It's a lot of competition here for these final spots up here at the top, and may the best man win. Might be me, might be Bud, could be a wild card. Who knows? It's gonna be a hell of a couple races.
Dylan, who makes it work for you and the team?
Oh, just a huge shout out to everybody behind Winstel. All the work that goes on behind the scenes. Huge shout out to all you guys here that put on the broadcast. It's incredibly appreciated. I got people that are in my life that love to watch these races, and they love the show that you guys are putting on, and it's just good coverage. It's great to have these archives for post race, go back and watch and see what you said. So it's just huge shout out to everybody that makes it happen.
Dylan Roberts finishing second place tonight at Kansas. Emily Howe keeps her ambitions alive with a big 3rd place finish tonight. Emily, you came into tonight's race not sure about what the rest of the Winstel Cup chase looked like for you, but now you've got a lot of steam going behind you and your team.
Yeah, this has been a really nice sort of weekend compared to basically the past, 3 races of the chase where I think I've, either gotten wrecked out of or had mechanical failures in every one. I, had the mechanical failure in New Hampshire and then got wrecked at both Dover and Talladega. So nice change of pace to start up front and then, have a solid finish to just get a nice point stay.
Solid point stay for you as well. This has to give you a little bit more hope that if you can't win the Winstel Cup, you're at least going to have a better finish. Tell me about your mindset now with only 4 races left in the season.
I think at this point now, just trying to help, get more top 5s, get a win for this team, and then also help my DEI teammate with Dylan. And if I can't win, then make sure I don't hurt Dylan, and if I can, help Dylan, because he's in a much better position to win the championship than I am at this moment.
Certainly. 4 races left in the season: Atlanta, Phoenix, Darlington, Homestead, Miami. Anything you're worried about? Is there anything here that's going to hamper you or you're concerned about as we go into the closing of the season?
No, all these tracks are, pretty much my bread and butter. The only real concern would be Phoenix, because with it being a short track, there's always chaos and very easy to get caught up in someone else's mess that, really doesn't need to happen. But, Atlanta, Homestead, Phoenix, all tracks have had, solid top 5 runs at the past 3 years. So no real concerns, and just hope to finish up the season strong.
Emily, at this point, you've got you've got a lot of, like I said, you got a lot of steam behind the team. You've got a good momentum going into Atlanta. What's the goal for the 15 for the rest of the season?
Just continue on with a good year. It's been a good year so far. I've had no C's, pretty much top 10, top 5 pace all year long outside of a few wrecks. So just want to finish up the year strong and then just head on into 2005.
Emily, who makes it work for you?
All the folks back at DEI, Tony Erie, Slugger Labby, all them guys back at the shock shop. They brought some good coil binding this week, and everyone who works behind the scenes at Winstel, Christian Budd, Brennan McGee, and everyone at home who watches these races week in and week out.
Emily Howe finishing 3rd tonight here at Kansas Speedway. What a race, what a masterclass in managing these cars, managing the tires, and ultimately trying to find a way to make the car work for you despite the track working against you all night. Carmen, your final thoughts on what we saw tonight?
What a wild race. 1 caution for a 2-car incident between teammates there for Roush Racing with Kyle Benson and Craig Lautenslager. The rest of it was everything we expected Kansas to be. It was going to be frantic. It was going to be chaotic, but it was a phenomenal race, as Kansas usually is. And we get to go from one fantastic racetrack to another next weekend when we go to Atlanta Speedway. That's going to be a lot of fun because it's going to be old Atlanta, bumpy Atlanta, the nitty-gritty, tire-destroying Atlanta. And that's, I think, what a lot of these drivers really love. They love having the car in their hands, and that's the epitome of it next week. You see the official points as they sit right now. Christian Budd with 30 points of the advantage, but his biggest adversary, Tyler Head, that's the top 5. That's top 5 position difference right now. Tyler Head, if he finishes ahead of Christian Budd by 5 positions next week, he's back in the lead. That's all that Tyler Head got hurt by this week, so that's huge. Dylan Roberts, he's obviously in the mix as well, 45 points. It looks like it's a three-horse race right now, but Gabriel Mauricio, he looked as strong as stronger than he did even earlier this season when he won at Daytona. This is as strong as that 40 cars looked all season long so far. So he's not out of it either. He just needs to finish ahead of the 4, the 8, and the 17. And it seems like next to nobody can do that consistently. But Atlanta's a place where we see some surprises. We see some photo finishes. And we almost saw that tonight. We're going to go to another track really primed for it. And this is where the drivers have to really show what they've got. You mentioned it. You've got Atlanta, you've got Darlington, you've got Phoenix, you got Homestead in the season. All 4 of those tracks are so different. You have to be proficient in all of them. It's exciting. We had an exciting race tonight. We're going to see a lot more exciting racing going on every Sunday between now and October 13th. It's game on. It is game on, and we're here for it, and I'm excited to see what comes next in Atlanta.
4 races left in the season. You won't want to miss them, starting Sundays, 7:45 Eastern, 4:45 Pacific, right here on ABN1. That'll complete our coverage of the Winstel Cup Series live from Kansas Motor Speedway. On behalf of our entire broadcast crew, producer Andy Polsatrix, my partner in crime, Carmen Sienna, my name is Joe Cortez. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week when we drop the green flag at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Good night, everybody.